Hello and welcome, this is Zoltan here and Illesh with ARCHLine.XP. This is day one of our ARCHLine.XP Virtual Expo. Today we are going to look at many exciting topics about architectural, interior design and even furniture design. Make sure you watch the shows live.
And also make sure that you join the chat and you ask your questions.
Enjoy! Hello and welcome to the keynote presentation of the ARCHLine.XP Virtual Expo series. My name is Zoltan Toth. Over here is our resident architect, Mr. Illesh Papp.
Hi there.
So today's keynote is going to be about the products that we have, the ARCHLine.XP product family, ARCHLine.XP LT, Pro and Live. Lots to discuss, so let's get it going. So when it comes to what our products are capable of, I think the best way is to actually illustrate with who is using our software and what they are using it for.
Let's start with that because quite a few of the professionals are using the software for several different projects and project types and several different professions themselves, like architects, structural designers, interior designers, landscape designers. As you can see here on this page, many of them also switch from another software or use the software in collaboration with other software users, other BIM software or CAD software or 3D modelers. And as you can see here, here we can actually read their own stories, how they get to know with the software, and then how they created their own professional design. With the full package, you can design all sort of projects with any sort of size, also for reconstructions, for old buildings, and also detailed design of the furnitures and large residential areas, or just smaller projects, or one part of the interior or the whole building itself. So it really varies from the wide range of the several types of the projects.
I think the important thing here is to know is that which product is targeted for what kind of project, and for that we have a nice graphic which shows you how our products are actually compared to each other. Now what you see on the screen is these graphs, these are the price ranges, but I could also say that this is sort of like a comparison between the features. ARCHLine.XP LT is a BIM software used for those kind of projects when you need to be able to draft in 3D and use BIM elements and BIM data in your design. So you can do all kinds of projects from the first lines all the way to the documentation.
And that's a full solution for smaller offices, small studios. You are being able to create all the details, all the designs, all the documentation, just as you told, with the PDF files and the detailed structural drawings as well. So should that be any sort of building type that you would like to design with the software, you will be able to do that. Now there is also Live, which is a fully featured real-time architectural visualization software for interior designs and for architectural designs as well, which in combination with LT makes a very comprehensive and fully featured software package, the ARCHLine.XP LT and Live.
That's right. And if you are looking for more, for example, you want to work with MEP tool sets, you want to create terrain, maybe importing point clouds, then ARCHLine.XP Professional is for you, which is the full-fledged software which is able to tackle all kinds of challenges like the one you see on the screen.
Yes.
Now, one underlying idea between all the products that we have is the openness. Depending on, or it doesn't matter which products you're choosing, you are not going to be isolated because there's a ton of import and export formats you can use to be able to collaborate with others.
Yes, absolutely. As ARCHLine is being a fully featured BIM solution for the designers, it fully supports IFC in and out, also supports the DXF DWG files, 2D or 3D. Also Revit files are fully supported. You can read those files and you can digest the content and then work with that based on that knowledge. And you don't need an extra external plugin being able to use the software's functionality, except if you would like to collaborate with other softwares, of course, then you can use that third-party software as well, but it's fully featured in itself.
So the best way to show what the products are capable of, I think, is via the projects that are realized in this program. So I'm going to share my screen, and Illesh is going to show us a few projects that were realized in these products, and then we can talk about the different features for every single product that we have. So first, start with the most organic one. So you see the building on the screen is actually the recreation of the Ottobock Science Center, which is in Berlin, not too far from the Brandenburger Tor. And the interesting thing about this project is that it has this kind of flowing form. So we are not talking about only 2D or even 3D drafting. We are talking about a very organic design when you have all kinds of shapes and curves, and LT is able to do that. We will talk about that a little bit later.
And actually there will be other demonstrations and presentations about this topic as well, fully featured.
Another important topic is, okay, I'm looking to create walls, but these walls have to be parametric or maybe even framed wall structures. So for this we have an example as well. Again, this building comes from Norway, if I'm not mistaken. And the interesting thing about it is that it's not just a 3D body when it comes to a wall, but also every single stud and steel or wooden profile is there. So if you're looking to create this kind of documentation, then LT is still able to cater for your needs. Now, another example is, I think, in terms of documentation, because eventually that's what you're looking for. How do you get documentation out of your model? What can you expect? Now, ARCHLine LT is not going to let you down in this regard as well, because as you can see on this picture, you can create all the sections, elevations, floor plans, the detailed drawings, and also you can put all this together into even a print queue if you want. So this kind of projects that you see on the screen can be realized with the LT. We are going to show later on what professional can add to this. Now, the last one to talk about regarding what LT is able to do, last project, is what we are going to use today, and that is a project that we received from one of our users from Germany. We are grateful for that. And this is a typical project that you would be realizing with LT. It has everything that characterizes a project. It was made using a DWG drawing. We built up the 3D environment. We have parametric walls, multi-layered that is, and we have intricate roof structures as well. So how did this project came to be, or what are the special things about this project?
Well, there's quite a few, so we will break that down in short and try to show you as much as possible. So I'm going to load up the version of this project where you actually have only the floor plan. So we will talk about a little bit how you can create the floor plan in the software. So for that we have this layout, the 2D and the 3D together. And then here you can see quite a few of those object types and building types that you can create with LT. Now I'm opened it in LT, so we can see what sort of building tools, drafting, fully featured drafting 2D software packages, part of the LT. The functionalities are all there. For the dimensions, we will talk about this later, and for the documentations. But let's start with the building itself. As you can see, you can create walls, doors and windows. And here, this is also a good example to that all the structure are multi-layered with all the cavities inside and insulation and all the plasters and perhaps painting also on the surfaces. So that's what you can see now on the screen. It was created with this tool, with the wall tool, and also I will show you that you can process DWG files as well.
Where did the doors and windows come from?
Well, the doors and windows could come from two different sources. One is the built-in library of the software, which you can find here at the left-hand side. This is what we call the design center. You go there and you can find several libraries for the doors and the windows. Like you can go into find industrial doors or outdoor doors, and you can just go there and find the door with side light, or like the ones that I have found here in the indoor category, which is for the double doors and so on. So you can just either visually find any of those. Let me just make this a little bit larger so we can see 2 rows at least. And then also you can just go there and type, I don't know, glazed or single door or something like that, and the software will find it for you.
Just a short stop here. You mentioned briefly that this drawing was made using a DWG drawing. And here, just to remind you that we have a whole set of import and export formats, which you can use in LT as well. So if you have like an SKP file format, DWG, or even an IFC file, if you're working in a BIM environment, then you can use that for the base of your work. And in most cases, you can even export your work back into this kind of file formats. So let's just take a look at the drawing that we have. So this was the basis of your work, right?
Yes. This is actually an imported DWG file. When you would like to import anything to ARCHLine, it's a very simple process. You either find a file in the File Explorer and you drag and drop it into your drawing, and the software will automatically load it. Or you just go into the file and then just find the import. And these are the main file formats that the software supports. But if you would like to find the full list of the importable file formats, then you can just come here and you can just select anything. So this is actually how it was imported. I just clicked here and I clicked open, and then the software brings up, I just clicked open, and then the software brings up a nice import dialog, and then you can decide on which scale and how you open it up, which I actually already did, so I won't read it because it's already here.
One thing to talk about here is that if you bring in a file like this one, you also have the layers.
Yes,
so if you're coming from a CAD background, you already know the CAD software, you won't be in a difficult situation because our software uses the same principle. Okay, we have the drawing, we turn it into a 3D model. Do you want to show that or jump straight to the levels?
Well, let me just show you one simple example, and then you will understand the idea how it was created. But so besides you are being able to create walls on their own individually, then you can also process the DWG drawings, and you can say that, okay, so now what I have here, this is one part of the wall, this is the other end of the wall, and this is actually the thickness. So the software will quickly turn that into a wall, and then you can just go there and keep repeating this. And then once you have that, the same way as you would do with the new building, you can just go and find a window type and place it inside. Or in case of processing a DWG file, you can just simply go and say that, okay, I'm going to place a window with 2 points. So I just pick the 2 points on this wall, and the software will automatically create the window. And then later I can customize, I can reshape, I can change it the way I want. But the process, the way you process a DWG file is extremely fast.
How do you get from here to a multi-story building?
Well, that is another thing. So for that, let me just load the previous version. I mean the one that we saw before, which features all the rest of the walls. And also, before we do that, let's just talk a little bit about the slabs and the stairs. So here, as you can see, a little bit of the surrounding was created using a slab tool. That is something that you can find here. You can either manually draft the contour of the slab, or you can just select the drawing and the software will automatically create a slab. You can even create plinths and foundations and so on. And also the same way you can create walls like this with tiny decorations all around them. And the important thing here, when we are talking about multi-level building, multi-story buildings, is a staircase itself. So for that, the software also fully features a whole range of stairs. And even if you don't find the shape that you can see here in this list, the software supports creating stairs by threads. And in that case, whatever shape you have on your drawing, you just click into the steps, and the software will auto build a stair for you. So it's a very, very flexible and very powerful tool in the software. It even tracks the rules. So it tells you whether the roof, the slab itself, the stair itself is ergonomic or not. So this is how the settings dialog look like. You can design the stair if you want, and then this is also part of the package, so it's not an external plugin or something like that. This is built in the software, so you can work with that. And based on several countries' rules, wherever you live around the globe and you work with the software will show you those highlights that are important for that specific rule that you're working with.
So let's jump to the phase when we have all the floors, and what I'm interested in is to see how the floors interact with each other. I understand you have an illustration for that.
Yes, that's right. So when you have a building, you can build up the floors. The software auto builds floors, and you can change the floor settings. You can change the size of the floors and so on. And what's an important thing here is that the software actually automatically creates connections between structure. So while I'm loading the following project here, let me show you another thing. I think this is the one that I'm willing to load up with the building.
It is,
I'm sorry, this one without the roof, because we will talk about the roof a little bit later. So while it is loading, let me just show you the example about the structural connections, because this is what you see here. It's kind of a 3D section of a building part, which we created to demonstrate the auto connections between the slab layers and the wall layers and so on. So this is what happens on screen when I select it. You can see that this actually has 3 or 4 different layers, and it goes under the wall where it's necessary, and it stops right at the face of the wall where it's necessary. And the same thing happens with the wall. So it's actually automatic. It's rule driven, but whenever it's necessary, you can fully customize it the way you want. So the software is shipped with the automatic solution as well.
So how does that look like for an actual building? Let's go back to the other project and see how this plays out. Like Illesh mentioned, this is all rule-based, so you can define, for example, that the walls should be reaching this part, and then they would be cut by the roof. Speaking of which, we see that we don't have a roof. So
yes, we don't have a roof here. I will recreate the model. I just created a stripped-down version of this building where we cannot see the roof, so I can show you how you can create the roof, and then I will show you the full model. But before I do that, let me just show you how easy it is to create a roof. So these are actually already there. If you just cannot see them in the 3D, I just filter them out using the layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to the roof tool, and here I can show you that there is the auto roof, which is good for larger buildings, having a pitched roof like this on the example. We have several different ready-made roof shapes that you would like to work with. So if I would like to create an open gable like this, then I just go with the open gable. I pick up the 2 corner points of the building like it was on the left-hand side, and I set up the height, clicking on the corner points, and then the software will create this roof for me. So this is actually how I created the fully featured version of this building. Let me just go back to the downstairs, and I will just quickly rebuild the full 3D model, so we will see how it looks like in the end.
And the great thing is that, like you showed us before with the roof, that the work is pretty much node-based. So you just sketch the things in 2D, but actually things are building up into 3D as well when you work. So you don't have to care about building a 3D model separately, because the 2D and the 3D are linked together. And one interesting thing that we are going to see in the roof is that it's going to be also multi-layered, and it has intricate details that we can show you.
Yeah, here's the final version of that model actually. And I actually loaded this not just for the roof itself, but I will talk about the rest of the details as well. But what we have here is the roof model with also tiny details like those edges, and the endings of these rafters, as you can see here, and several different.
I see that yes, we have rafters, and we have
that's right,
buttons and everything. So how does that come together?
Well, if it's actually also something that is integrated part of the software, so you don't need an external plugin to be able to design fully featured, nice and detailed roofs like this. If you go into the roof settings, you will be able to set up the eaves purlins, the middle purlins, and so on. But by default now it is set up to be a wooden roof structure. But as the software is very flexible on the cross sections of the supporting structure, you can select whatever you want, and even if you don't find the cross section that you want, you can even design the cross section by yourself. But the software is featuring a very rich built-in profile set. So you can go and change the rafters, all the settings, and this makes up, let me just go back to wireframe so we can see how detailed it is. It has all the details inside, but if I go back to the consistent color, which is kind of a textured hidden mode, we can see all the layers, all the details, all the structures, and the nice endings
that's
here.
The insulation in there.
And the insulation is also there. And the reason why it's there, it's because it's also an integrated part of the layers and geometry page here, so you can build up the full range of the layers inside the roof, and in between those structural elements you can generate them, and at the end, which we will talk about pretty soon, you can also make a list out of these things that you have modeled into the software. So this is what you see here. And talking about the roof itself, it's not just the roof shapes themselves and the structure, but also additional parts like this cutout here. You can easily design them, or the other ones, this here with what we call the dormer roofs and the roof windows. These are all integral part of the software. So I've just used the roof tool here, and there is the dormer roof, even the gutter. You can even work with served roofs, and also different other items you can generate here. So this is how you will work with those.
What about those railings? I see that there are decorational elements on the facade. So how do they come to be?
Yeah, those are either things that you can design using the 3D modeling tools like railing and so on. So what I have here, actually, this railing itself is also an integral part of the building range. The building tool set. So here we can see that there's a preview, and if I go, for example, into the primary balusters, which are actually these parts here supporting the glazing and the other parts of the railings, here you can see it's a fully detailed 3D model of one single pole or baluster or something like that, like a supportive item. And then you can either design these, you can browse for ready-made items in the library, and also you can download things from third-party sources like the BIMobjects.com.
Can you actually show us how you can connect to these items?
Yes. If you would like to download any of those items, then you can go to find the BIMobject tools. Let me just go back to this one. So here, if you would like to find any of those, you can either go here and import and find the format that you are willing to open, like an IFC or RFA or RVT file or something like that. And these are the tools that we talked about, the sweep, for example, that makes up the decoration around the building, just as you can see here. And also sorry, I was lost a little bit. So it's just in the drafting, the dimension, the documentation.
It's a good thing that you opened up the drafting menu. Can you open up for a second? You see that we have the same kind of CAD tool sets, lines, polylines, arcs, like the one you will see in any other two-dimensional CAD software products. Big difference here is that we are working on a BIM environment. Last thing to talk about regarding LT is the documentation side of things. So question is, one thing that we haven't showed you is these external libraries Illesh was referring to. 3D Warehouse, for example, is integrated with
Absolutely.
So you can connect to the 3D Warehouse. You already know this depository of many user-made items.
Yes.
Documentation, because that's what is going to pay our bills. So how do you create documentation? Well, what kind of documentation can you create?
All sorts of documentation, whichever is necessary, sections, elevations, or detailed drawings, and so on. As you could see, the structural items with all their layers and all their details, they automatically connect and you can customize them. So if you go to the documentation part and you create the sections, the elevations, and so on, I will load up a final version, so you will see how it looks like. Then you can just create the intersection, and then you make the measurements, the dimensions. That is something that you can find in the dimension tool set, which is also fully featured, length dimensions, angle dimensions, arc lengths, and so on. You can even measure, and also you can go with elevation dimensions, and the full building you can measure easily. I mean, place the dimensions around with a few clicks. And this is actually how, let me load up a different project, which is a nice detailed version, so I can show you another example how it looks like, which is the one that I showed you before at the beginning is this one. And then if I load that up, I mean, this is the plot layout. You can actually, using the software, you can build up the plot layouts as well. And here you can see how a plot layout looks like, and you can actually create as many pages as you want with all the scalings and the details, and then you can add the measurements, as you can see here, also extras, titles or descriptions,
detailed drawings as well.
Detailed drawings. Yes, these are all part of the software, and even like sections or textured versions of the elevations and so on. So this is how you can build up something like that, and then you can publish them either into a PDF file, should that be a multi-page PDF file or a single-page one, or you can just directly print them onto your printer.
What about consignations and quantity takeoffs? So you can create them in LT, can you?
Yes, you can. That is something that you can find also in the documentation. So you can, let me just go back to LT, which is here. So this is in the documentation. You can find the quantity takeoff, the Excel lists, and also you can, whenever you click on the Excel list and you would like to extract any sort of information, you just go here and select what sort of information you would like to extract from the project itself. But actually, I already have one.
Yes.
So this is how I made an Excel list out of this one. And then now we are on a multi-page Excel file with all the wall lists. And as you can see, if I scroll through, there are all the walls with different tiny thumbnails and the details. Let me just go back to the top so you can see that the width, height, longitudinal length, and the one side area, the other side for painting calculations and so on, and volumes and everything else are here. So as we are in an Excel file, we can also add price or something like that. We can make further calculations with this Excel file, and we can make a cost estimation as well. And the same happens with the wall layers, the compound wall details, the slabs, and so on. So those are all listed here. As you can see, that's a lot of information here that we can start working with and then make the calculations based on your project.
That's right. So in a nutshell, what you can do in LT, you can create a project like this one. You can create that in 3D with BIM elements and BIM information pieces. You can bring in additional elements to it from the 3D warehouse, for example.
Yeah.
And you can create a documentation which you have seen, sections, elevations, even quantity takeoffs. But now let's see what professional can add to that. So let's see a few examples for that. So now that we have established what LT is able to do, let's look at a few examples of what you can do with ARCHLine.XP Professional. So I understand you have a few projects here.
Yeah, first I have another version of this project that we worked with, but this time it is detailed with the surrounding, because surrounding, as when we are talking about the building volumes, the terrain and so on, that is something that is part of the professional tool set, which actually you can find at the end of the building menu. Here you can find Google Maps, terrain, and so on. So this is where you can actually load those things. And for those of you who are interested in reconstruction work, this is where you can find the surveyed room and all the other reconstruction tools, which we actually have another demonstration about, but that's another topic.
That's right. You mentioned terrain. So
Yeah.
I understand we have a different project with which we can show how terrain looks like in ARCHLine, because of course you can create in ARCHLine.XP Professional, you can create your own terrain files based on line work, based on points, and you can import this data from a service station, for example. So this project that we received from one of our customers already comes with a detailed terrain model with many buildings next to
Well,
each
actually,
other.
there is a surrounding here as well, but that is what we are talking about. It's kind of like narrowed down to this street, which was designed by the designer with all the buildings, all the residential buildings here. And later it was visualized in live, which we will see later. And then what you see here is all the buildings with all the details and a little bit of the surrounding. Now, I actually have a larger project with a little bit larger terrain. So let me show you that too, because it was in another part of the globe, which is here. This was also modeled by one of our users, and the interesting thing here is that while the previous terrain was modeled manually, this was actually an import of the existing surrounding here, and that's where the building lot itself was filled with the with the building itself. This is a Mediterranean building here, as you can see.
It's the actual topography you see over here.
Yeah, this is the true terrain.
That's right. What if you want to position a project on the globe? Because, you know, one way... very good that you brought this up, because this shows actually how you can edit the terrain. Because it's one thing to bring in the terrain and use it as a 3D model, but then you would like to add roads, plateaus, and you want to excavate things from the terrain. So with this, you can create this kind of terraced building.
Yes, that's right, and the roads and all sort of like these walls that hold back the terrain behind, and so those things modeled here, and also with a very detailed, nice roof structure that we discussed earlier with the LT. So this is a very nice and detailed example of how you can fill up a terrain and modify the terrain, because in the terrain tools you have the road, the zone, the plateau, the building volume that you saw earlier. So these are all the things that you can use to modify the terrain. And talking about the geolocation, how you can set up the geolocation, I have another project which we use quite frequently for demonstrations, and this is the one here. This is also a good example for finding the geolocation point, which you can do at least two places in the software. One is at the BIM and project parameters. This is actually where you can fill up other parameters like the street name and so on. But if you just go here and you just would like to set up the project location, you can end up using Google Maps, and you can just find the address. This is you're good at this one.
Yeah, I know
don't
this one
remember
where it is. By the way, the reason this is Hungarian is because it comes from the browser. This information. So.
So it's
This is in California, and there's this empty lot next to this church over here where this building could be built. You could of course use the satellite view if you want, but this is not needed. The only thing important here is that you could actually bring in the terrain as a terrain model or as an image. But for now we are not doing that. We are satisfied with just specifying the geolocation as a GPS coordinate.
That's right. And this is actually a good example because this is a combination of buildings and the surrounding and the interior as well. So you can do all the things. And now we are coming to a point which is also a good part of the software. I mean, the full interior design toolset that you can work with. So here, as you can see, it's already detailed, and I can also just quickly jump in so that you can see that the interior designer worked on this one. But actually, I have prepared a few interior examples. Let's start with a smaller one, which was a bathroom designed by one of our users, which is a fully detailed and fully furnished and fully tiled version of this bathroom. And the software comes with this full-featured interior tool set that has the object placement. You can direct connect to 3D Warehouse to download things. You can add soft furnishing if this would have some sort of curtain. We will talk about these a little bit later. And you can also design kitchen objects, I mean kitchen cabinetry. And for that, I have another project which is about a fully featured nice and modern kitchen here.
What is so special about these cabinets? Why don't you just download things from the 3D Warehouse and call it a day?
Well, if you download an object, that's also cool if you don't want to modify it. But if you would like to modify it, when you resize a model, you actually stretch it. Now, in ARCHLine, there is the tool set in the interior that with the KBB. Here, actually, you can design the cabinet. Let me just quickly load up one. I think I will just load up the existing one. So I just go in here, and you can see that actually you can change the divisions. You can open up the doors. You can say that you would like to see it fully opened or partially opened. You can even completely remove the fronts. So you can actually these are parametric items, not just single frozen objects that you can just stretch. But these are some things that you can change the division numbers. You can change it, completely redesign the whole thing. So everything here was designed using that tool set.
And what about the lights? Because I see that we have a few lamps over here. We have a suspended ceiling. So I know that it's a no-brainer that you can bring in lamp objects, but how can you work with them? Maybe you can create a lighting plan or things like that. Can you show us an example?
Yes, that's right. And also you can attach light sources. So when you do the renders, you will see the result nicely. The software, actually, the professional version comes with an integrated ray trace renderer. We will show you a few examples at the end. But when we talk about those things, that lighting plan and so on, I actually have a nice detailed lighting plan. So this is how detailed you can make the lighting plan in ARCHLine. And also you can set them as a system. So once you place a kind of like a plug or a switch or something like that, you can connect that to the lamp itself, and then this will be handled as a system. So the software can determine whether you forgot something, or it can even give you an estimation of the power usage of that part of the room. So it is not as accurate as a lighting plan designer software, but it will give you at least an accurate, an estimation. Also,
No, I was just asking that if you can do this with lighting elements and wiring, then maybe you can do the same thing with piping. And this gets us to another topic, MEP, this mechanical engineering and pipe management, which is another discipline that ARCHLine is going into in addition to architecture, of course. If you want to create a schematic view of an HVAC system, for example, like the one you see on the screen, then you can do that. Now, the special thing is that you can import the objects from an external source, like you did with that heat exchanger, and then you can build up a network using semi-automated elements. And tools.
Well, actually, it is similar to draw walls. You actually draw the pipe system. You can change the length of the pipes. You can change the endings. You can always attach new kind of like branches to these systems, and the software will handle them as one single system. So when you erase something, it won't just break up here, but it will just make it a whole tube again or a whole pipe, so it will just handle it as a one real MEP system, should that be any sort of duct or fitting or anything else like electrical.
Now that we mentioned that you can bring in things from external sources, we
Yep.
did mention that before, but there's a very special example you could show us with the revolving door. So how did that come to the project that we showed you before this
Let me
Science
load
Center
that
in,
project. It's
Berlin?
actually here on my tray. I have so many projects loaded, so I can find it here. So this one here, this was actually downloaded from a source that we call the BIMobject.com, which is a very rich and continuously growing marketplace for BIM objects. You can go to the BIM libraries, and this is where you can find all the BIM object sources. You can go to BIMobject.com, and then the software will open up an integrated browser. That's the point here. Well, I did not log in. So here you need to log in, and then you can reach their database, and you can download things like this one, for example, and then that will be an integral part of your project, so you don't have to download it over and over again. It will be just part of the project from that point on.
The most frequently used file formats when you use an object from here are the RVT, RFA file formats, IFC, for example, OBJ.
Yes, and an important thing here is that those are BIM objects. That means that just as any sort of wall or window in ARCHLine has BIM parameters, so you can not just check the BIM parameters, you can also edit them. And once you download something with BIM parameters, should that be an office desk or any other, like a window or something like that, that will also come with that certain data, which you can use at the end for schedules or any other things like that.
Still staying at the topic of imports, point clouds, all the rage nowadays.
Yeah.
You need to know how you can import and edit point clouds in ARCHLine. Now there are currently 3 file formats that we are supporting. If the point cloud is saved into an OBJ, you can bring that in, no problem. We are going to show you that here. So for example, this was created with a smart camera made by the company Matterport, and what happens here is that the camera scans the building around, and then the whole building appears as one single OBJ file, but it appears in 3D, so if you want to add additional elements to it, cabinets or anything like that, you can do that. Another example, we are not showing this all of them because these are huge multiple gigabyte files, but we also support the E57 and the PLY format. So if you have a device like that, make sure that that file format is supported. And let's talk a little bit about the exports, and especially we talked about consignation, but what about the schedules? When you want to create an estimation on the project, but you don't want to export it, you just want to make sure that that estimation is always there and you can update it every time you need it.
Every single time, yeah. This is what you can do with any of your projects that you have created in ARCHLine, or turn them into walls, like it was a DWG, but as you saw it at the earlier stage of today's presentation, you can turn it into real walls and real windows. And while you have that, you will be able to go to the documentation, and then there's the extra part here. Either you can generate an RTF file, which is a document that is kind of ready to print. You can also create these templates for yourself. And also what you talked about is the schedule, which is part, you can define the schedules to make them contain the data type that you want to. And then once you already have that, you can also place schedules, and you can say that, well, for example, you would like to see a schedule of doors in this building, and you can just disable parts that you don't want to see. And then you can say that, well, okay, on this level, I would like to collect everything that's on this drawing, and then let's just place it somewhere next to this design, someplace here, and then the data inside is connected to the part that I have collected information out of. So I can either change this content here, or I can change the data, but it's reflecting the changes.
So there's a bi-directional connection between the two. Now, keeping with the topic of exports, I know that we have renders, but before we talk about them, there's a special feature about the professional, and that is the Panorama 360.
Yes, that's right. For the Panorama 360, I have this project because this is actually from where it was generated, this here. This is a larger project, a larger buildings, smaller section for this purpose of the presentation. And then when I go back to the 2D, you can see that this is what you can find here in the view. It's for the rendering, and the Panorama 360, you can place place actual cameras here, as you can see. And so with that and with these kind of portals or like entrance points, you can define how the end result will look like. And then I have generated an end result looking similar to this one, which is open in my browser. It should appear just a second here. We will talk about these later as well. So this is what I've generated out of that. So it's something that you can either, just grab the mouse and look around, and then just go to the corridor, for example, and look around, and then go to the bathroom, and then go to the bedroom, and look around those places. And this is something that you can also use on a mobile. And then if you have those, VR boxes that you can enter your phone in, then using the gyro, you can just simply look around, which gives a very fast and very convenient estimation of the 3D space. So the user, your client, will understand how the space looks like around them, and how far things are from them, and what's the size of the space.
What was that gallery you were showing?
Well, the gallery is about the renderings. And about projects that was realized in ARCHLine and rendered either with the integral render that I talked about, the ray trace renderer, and also as the software is connecting to third-party renderers that are a few of those examples are made in third-party renderers. So let me just show you a few things. Like, for example, in architecture, you can find nice projects realized in ARCHLine and visualized later. Those are various different type of projects, partial buildings or even large building areas with whole building lots and so on.
Just showing you the import chart again.
Yeah,
so if you're wondering if your rendering engine is supported, then if you see the import file format on this chart, then you are in the green. So going back to the website, sorry.
Yeah, so in the meantime, I've loaded the interior design project. This is also a mixture of integral renders and the external renders. As you can see, our users are creating beautiful content and rich interiors and architectural design, so it's worth have a look at, and I really recommend you to do so.
So just to recap before we move on, the things that ARCHLine.XP Professional knows in addition to LT or compared to LT is first of all terrain modeling opportunities, interior design tool sets, which means soft furnishing, tiling, lighting, etc.
Yeah.
And also better connection to external libraries.
Yes, that's right.
.com, for example. And also rendering and Panorama 360 is something that it supports in addition to point clouds. And there are a few other things, but this just gives you a better idea.
And reconstruction
exactly.
that we talked about.
Exactly.
When you have old buildings and you need to have this sorts of orthographic representation of the photo and then connect building parts and so on. So those are also part of the package.
So that's what Professional can do. And now we got to the third topic of the project of the product portfolio.
Yes.
We have ARCHLine.XP Live. Now, what does Live do?
Well, Live is a real-time ArcViz software, but it is actually a little bit more than that. It is for you to fill up your model with life, with literal trees blown by the wind, and also beautiful realistic renders, and also animations. I mean, you can add animated cars, animated humans, and create a video out of that in literally seconds. So you will see that in the following session.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Yeah. when you would like to visualize your model in Live, first you need to prepare it in ARCHLine or in SketchUp, because Live connects to ARCHLine and SketchUp directly too. So you have all the views, all the materials, all the sun settings and everything. And then you need to go to the sync option, to add it to Live. It takes a little while until it communicates, but then you will see all the views, and those are actually images ready-made, and then you can just already send over to your clients. You can change the materials, you can change the brightness, you can even change the background. The software is equipped with built-in material libraries, object libraries, and also panoramic backgrounds that you can just find in the library and then click and drag it into the model. You can also rotate it, you can change its size, you can make a different position in it, and it's all interactive. It's all in real time, so you have the direct feedback. Even if you would like to plant a few trees around in the surrounding, you just use the foliage tool, and then you paint the side of the road, and you can remove parts. You can even add a little bit more of the trees. And of course, if you would like to, you can change the sunlight according to what is the most advantageous for this view, because for example, in this case, it was in shadow, then you can change it to have a different sun setting for that specific view. You can also use the built-in cars. You can also import objects to Live, but you can use the built-in library to populate with cars, humans, and other assets. Just as you can see here, you can just rotate them, change their size, change their position. The same goes with the people that you can add to the dynamic content. Those are many of those are animated, as you can see. I will also show you how you can make them move, walk on the pavement. And an important thing is that whenever your project changes in ARCHLine or in SketchUp, then you can just make those changes in the original project, just as I do now in ARCHLine in the BIM software. And then once I'm done with the changes, I can actually just say that, okay, now I'm done with those, and I would like to synchronize those changes into the already detailed model that I have in Live. And then those changes are synchronized, as you can see, and then you can keep going on. All the things that you have made already, change materials, change assets are already there, populated trees and everything. And then all you need to do is just to click on the retake, and then the software will update all the images, and then now you have the images in literally seconds that are actually updated with the latest changes with the trees and all the detailed assets that you have given. And in the end, it's of course an interesting thing that you can also add animations to the people that are shipped with the software. So you can just define a path with a few clicks. You can just place that person on the pavement, and then you define the path, and then once the path is done, you actually only need to say that you would like to make that person run or walk or have jogging or something like that, and the speed and everything will be automatically set. So you can apply another person running on the street, to people having a conversation and so on. So this is how you work with that. It's very, 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 very simple. The same thing you can actually do with cars. Just place them and decide the path, and the software will animate them. And even with an automatic lawn mower, we can do the same thing. So it's extremely easy, extremely fast. And then you not only have the result in images, but you can actually create an animated video like this.
So this summarizes our presentation on the ARCHLine.XP product portfolio. We looked at what LT, Professional, and Live can do. So if you have any questions, you can let us know in the comments, and we'll be here to answer them. You can reach the comment bar on the right-hand side or below us if you are looking at it from a mobile device. I suggest that you stay on for the rest of the presentations. We have 3 days planned with many interesting topics, including how to create lighting plans, MEP plans, interior design and architectural design. So lots to discuss. Go to the website and see if you have signed up to all the relevant presentations that you are interested in. For now, we would like to thank you for your attention and see you next time. Enjoy the rest of the presentations. See you.
Goodbye.